Hey, it's Cody. I'm here to talk about my November decks and books, things that I, at this point anyway, plan on working with throughout the month of November. First thing I just want to throw out there, I was going to apologize. Ultimately, I don't want to apologize for shit, but I really didn't have anything to say about Samhain. I didn't do shit for it. I didn't feel like doing anything. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on just in general right now, that I think has really gotten anyone paying attention feeling out of sorts. I don't want to turn this video into a whole thing about that. Yeah. So, yeah, there was no Samhain shit. It's not that you missed it or anything. I just fucking didn't do anything. Alright, first thing I want to talk about is books that I finished reading. Yeah. Alright. The first one we have here is the Book of Ancestors by Claire Goodchild. Now, this is like the sister book to the Book of Seances by the same author. I mentioned this book before. Oh, look, it's one of my favorite pages. And this book is so accessible without being necessarily only beginner shit. Does that make sense? Like, it makes me want to actually do the shit in this book. And not as in like, oh yeah, at some point I plan on adding that to my practice. Like, right now I want to go get, like, shit, I forgot what she calls it. It's an ancestral grimoire or something, like a nice-ass book to write down stuff in, to, like, pass on and stuff. Like, I want to do that right this instant. Not like, yeah, at some point, that will be cool. I really love this book. It's one of those things where it's easy to pick up if you are a complete beginner, but it's not a waste of your time if you already sort of even have an ancestor practice. So yeah, big fan of this book. I finished it, I love it, and I recommend it. Here's another book that I finished, loved, and recommend. This is The Skull by John Klassen. Now, this is apparently a retelling of a Tyrolean, I think, a traditional folk tale. The author has changed it from its original exact story. I like it a lot better, the way that this was done, and I just love this. Yeah, it's like kids. It's like big ass illustrations and shit. Alright, it's only like 100 and... Where are we here? I mean, the end is on... Oh, it doesn't have... We don't have a page number. It's like 100 pages. Okay? It's just so beautiful. Like, the artwork, even just the words chosen for it. Wow, I love this book. I feel like with a smaller work like this, it's easy to get every single word right, and I really appreciate that. I feel like the author did that for this. And I love it. Alright, I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Now I had started this book before, and I ended up just putting it down. I couldn't tell if it was me, or if it was the book, or what, because I think this probably appeared in one of these videos I was going to read months ago, like probably over the summer. I will say that I ended up restarting it so that I could remember what the fuck was going on. Okay, basically the premise of this, yeah, this might be spoilery, I actually don't recommend this book. There is this girl who lives in a village, and she has like she calls it the nightmare, like this creature that lives in her head. And it starts out, it's making mean little rhymes about people around her, and it starts saying like weird prophetic shit, and you realize some of them are quotes from this like old book. Basically, there's cards. Now, I'm into fucking magic systems that contain cards, okay? So, this one is... There's these cards that give the bearer of the cards, if they tap it 3 times, the power within the card. There are 78 cards. There's 1 of one card, 2 of the next, 3 of the next, until I think there's 12 of the most common one. It's cool. The nightmare is like this 500-year-old king who, like, stored his soul in one of the cards that this girl, like, accidentally absorbed and shit. Like, it seems really cool that way, but actually somehow it's mostly fucking romance. I don't know. I'm looking for books, fantasy, adult fantasy books written by anyone other than white straight cis men. And I feel like I'm kind of exploring women writing fantasy, but for some reason so much of it seems to be romance rather than actual fantasy, and I do not like that shit. Okay, so anyway, somehow I think I was probably bored for 75% of this book. There was 1/8 of it at the beginning. 75% of this bitch was fucking boring. And then the very last little sliver on the last eighth, I was like, oh no! Okay, like this book went there. But the problem was, for the most part, I'm reading about the most fucking boring love interest I've ever even... Oh my god. Like, it's just... I don't want to get too into it. This was boring. But because I'm a stupid bitch, I also bought the second one. So here are books that I'm currently reading. I am over halfway in this because some shit at the back of this is like, I don't know, an interview or something. Oh, there's acknowledgements. So yeah, I'm over half. This is the second one, Two Twisted Crowns. This one actually is worse than the first one. Whereas the first book, One Dark Window, we were first person from the main character Elspeth's wow, point of view. But she is indisposed in this book, and so instead we get third person from a bunch of other characters. I keep forgetting whose brain I'm even in, or like who I'm attached to while I'm reading these chapters, because everybody sounds and thinks the same. Somehow we didn't even get rid of the romance aspect of this because it just swiveled right around to be fucking somebody else's romance story, which I... No. It's just... I dislike this. I will finish it for the sake of however much money I fucking spend on this, but no thanks. Here's another book that I am partway through. I'm not very far into this. This is Dante's Inferno. This is just the Inferno portion. All hope abandon ye who enter here. Sorry, it's really glossy. I'm into this. I would say embarrassingly, but like I've already told him myself, the reason that I am reading this is not only do I love like terrible versions of hell and things like that, also Hosier's newest album is very loosely based on the Circles of Hell. So I was like, fuck yeah. We'd studied a couple of the cantos, I think, when I was in high school. Yeah, I did not go to any college because I don't give a fuck. Not that you shouldn't, but okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm working my way through this. Also, super interestingly, when I looked this up to order it, I found a pre-order for a Dante's Inferno Oracle deck, and it is by Paolo Barbieri. So I pre-ordered it. I think it's going to be here at some point this month, which just felt really like, I don't know, an omen that I'm doing the right thing. So I'm pretty excited to get that in. As soon as I get that shit, I will probably do an unboxing or some sort of walkthrough so you can see what that looks like. Anyway, yeah, I'm working through that. Alright, books that I plan on reading. This is The Library at Mount Shar by Scott Hawkins. Now, you might notice that I just said that I have been taking a break from cis white male authors. But yeah, actually that has actually kind of been a thing that I've been doing for a couple of years now, and I had a couple people recommend this book to me, so I was like, you know what, we'll give it a try. Yeah, we'll give it a try. The last one is, oh my god, this book is giant. This is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. Dragons. This is the sequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. I feel like I saw a lot of people talking about Priory of the Orange Tree, but I really don't see anyone mentioning that there even is a second one here, so that's kind of weird. Alright, we're done with books. Let's move on to decks. Okay, the first thing that I want to admit to you is something. I feel like I've been holding this in for a while. Alright, here we have the Seasons of the Witch, Samhain, Oracle. Now, I do not plan on working with this deck for the month of November, but I did want to talk about it a little bit. Not really sure that this little complaint session warrants its own video, so I'll just shove it in here. Okay. When this deck first came out, again, Seasons of the Witch, Samhain Oracle, I loved the artwork. I liked the themes and the guidebook. I will say the little poems on the cards, I've really struggled with. It's just, some of them ultimately don't mean anything. Like, they're just pretty words, but there's not any meaning to be gleaned from them. But even more than that is, I'm not gonna dig through here to find an example, but the misuse of thee and thy, and just like, they're trying to use like old English style shit or whatever, and like the way that it's just misused is more than I can handle. So I struggled with this deck because of that. Now, I don't remember if I already said this. I did not work with this for the month of October. And every other year since it came out, which I don't remember what year that was. It doesn't say on here. Yeah, I'm not digging in the book for this, but this did come out several years ago. I feel like I was more into it when I first got it, and now, like, I thought about it. I got the box out. I sat it on, like, this shelf of, like, in use sort of decks. And ultimately, this year, I did not even get it out. Okay. So then, when the Seasons of the Witch Yule Oracle came out, I don't know if I'm going to be using this in December. At this point, I'm kind of feeling like maybe not. So, this one, it's still got the same artwork. Okay. Upon my flesh, within thy bones, quivers a crawling, frozen in numbness. Shall I ignore, or shall I bestow it? A frozen knowing looks back at thy soul. Like, it's... Okay. Again, I like the artwork in this. Again, I dislike the little poems. I so wish that these poems had just been put in the guidebook. Even if it didn't want to put any keywords, okay? I would have been better with that than the poems directly on the cards. So, I was not quite as into this one as I was into the Samhain one. I did use this, I think this came out... I don't know, I'm not even gonna guess. So then, earlier this year, I believe it was Seasons of the Witch, Beltane, Beltane, whatever. I don't celebrate that wheel year. I don't know how to say the names of the little holidays, and quite frankly, I don't care. Okay, so this one comes the 1st of May, and we're here, but something... Okay, aside from the fact that I don't really like light pastel colors, something about this artwork just doesn't feel the same as the Samhain one. Like, it almost feels like more hurried or something. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. Like, you might be looking at it and be like, yeah, it looks just as detailed and the same. Just, I'm starting to notice, I guess, we've still got our fucking poems here. Maybe it's not even the artwork itself. Maybe it's just the ideas of the cards are starting to almost feel repetitive, because there can't be an entire deck full of new ideas for each season. Now, I understand that's really not the way that it's supposed to be, right? These are just decks you can bust out for each spoke on your year of the wheel or whatever. But I'm not feeling this one. And now there are 2 more so far. So I guess they're making one for each of the 8 Wheel of the Year Sabbats or whatever the fuck. One of them is Mabon, or however the fuck you say that, as you see by me not pulling it out. I don't have that one. And also in bulk, or whatever happens in the beginning of February. I planned on getting those decks, but like, the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of starting to feel like I don't know. I've already missed one that came out, and the associated holiday with it. Like, am I just over these? Like, did I think they were a good idea? Like, are they a better idea than they were executed? Or am I just being shitty? I don't know. I can't even fucking tell anymore. Alright? I can't tell. Anyway, that was weird. Okay. Now to the decks that I actually will be using. The first one here we have the Untamed Spirit Animal Oracle. This is Wisdom from the Wild Within. This is by Red Wheel. I think I have showed this one before. I hate its packaging. Why all of this? I don't really know. Still some cards in there, but I don't care. Alright. Gray Heron. Here we have animal cards. Without being like cutesy animals. That's not really a thing that I'm into. So I do appreciate the more realistic depictions of them here. I like the black and white artwork. And I also like the fact that we have here keywords. I feel like there's a surprising amount of animal decks that are like oracles that don't, like, it pretty much just leaves you with your own animal associations. And, like, I don't know. Like, not all of these animals are things that I personally run into where I live. Like, I am completely landlocked in, like, a mountainous desert. And I've never run into a sea turtle in my life. Pelican, never seen one. Otter, I think I saw one at a zoo as a child. They're squirrels. I'm never gonna see a seal. Like, and I feel not even necessarily just that I don't run into them in real life, but it's kind of one of those things that I don't really have an association with. So I do appreciate there being keywords directly on the cards, but also the guidebook is actually pretty good with this. It kind of gives you an idea of why they chose the keywords that they chose, the meanings, you know, and of course you can always choose your own associations with it. Obviously, I feel like 2 words at the bottom of the card is easier to ignore than a whole poem. Yeah. So I will be using this some. Sorry, I'm hitting the camera. I have like this different little phone holder thing that like bites onto the edge of the table. And actually, I think that I don't like this one. The other one pisses me off that I have because it's like a tripod thing and it keeps like showing the little feet. This one actually is even more annoying. Alright, this one probably won't be a surprise to people who have seen other month ahead sort of videos. This is the Somania Tarot by Nicholas Bruno. I was mortified to discover that people were like, okay, in the last video that I showed this, I was like, how the fuck did they get a horse to put up with this? Yeah, the horse is fake, and everyone in the comments let me know that. I'm glad to hear that, and also I'm sorry for being stupid. So I do still really like this deck. My plan with this deck was I want to use it for, like, shadow work. Now, usually October, November is the time of the year that I go into, like, shadow work mode, sort of. I will say, with the current genocide happening right now in the world, I'm not really in a place where I will be doing that. I feel like that's individual work, and at this point, I am sort of dissolved into the collective. Does that make any sense? It's not something I'm trying to be digging out of right now. I don't mean to sound crazy, but... So, I mean, I will use this deck, but this year, at this point in time, it's not going to be used the way that I had ultimately hoped. Not that there's not next year. I mean, maybe there is a next year. Who fucking knows? But, like, yeah. I love this deck. Do you know the part in Zelda Ocarina of Time where you're in the forest temple? And there's a terrible part where you have to keep, like, raising and lowering water or some shit to go through, like, this well that pokes up in 2 places, and you're climbing up a ladder for fucking 10 minutes to get up out of it. That's what this was. Alright. So, yeah. Somnia Tarot I will be working with. I'm not really sure exactly in what capacity. Also, this is the Margaret Peterson Tarot. So, this deck... Oh, okay. The guidebook, I think, is actually my favorite part of this deck, so I just keep it with. Alright, so I've had this deck for several years. It's not actually something that I have worked with very much. I keep trying to, but something about it is very large. scale. It's almost like zoomed out or something. So when I'm asking stupid fucking questions like, how's my day today gonna be? Like, I don't know if it has the ability to zoom in. I don't know if it has, like, if its vision is good enough to see one human's one day. Like, does that make sense? This is much more of a broad, overarching theme sort of deck. And unless I'm doing work with that, it tends to simply not care what I'm asking. I've seen some people say that the deck feels cold, like it just reads. It doesn't have like this warmth of energy when it's reading. And then I've seen people saying that there's like a new 25th year anniversary edition or something that has dark purple borders. I've considered ordering that and seeing how I feel, but like the reality is it's like 35 US dollars for this deck. I don't know that even with different colored borders I would really be more apt to use it, so I'm just sitting here with this one. Oh Jesus, eyeballs. Sometimes I'm just looking at this deck. I look through this deck a lot, which is weird, but like reading with it doesn't quite work for me at this point. I don't know. Alright, so put this away. There's a couple decks that I do want to mention. That one I've fucked up previously, and another one I think I have just fucked up recently. Now, okay. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, have you ever used a deck for some shit, and then it kind of, I don't want to say it ruined the deck, but it really doesn't want to talk about anything other than that anymore? Because I have done that with multiple decks. Okay. I do plan for the month of November to work with my Mary L. Tarot. This is first edition, is it first edition, or... I don't know. This was before the newer release of it with different, High Priestess and Hierophant card and a different Three of Swords or something. I don't know. There's some different... There have been some changes in a recent release of it. I used this deck once for some large political kinds of shit several years ago. And it kind of doesn't want to do anything else at this point. Which is kind of sad. But also, this deck, similar to the Margaret Peterson, feels very large in scope. It does feel a little more approachable to me, I think, because there's more, like, recognizable human-like figures in this. But ultimately, it kind of will. I think it's willing to answer some of my petty bullshit. But for the most part, that's really not where this deck shines for me. I know there are people that use this for every single thing. Good, I'm happy for you. But for me, this remains sort of remote, in that it only wants to talk about larger world happenings. So... because of the cards I've been drawing lately, I don't know how to directly address this because I don't know if YouTube will make me take this down. If I use certain words, I do know that there are various social media apps that are removing content with certain words and phrases right now, so... if you haven't noticed this, my practice is very political. Quite frankly, it is almost entangled in a way that I could separate the two, but I'm not going to, if that makes sense. Okay, so the last deck that I want to talk about is also a deck that I have been working with already for the month of October. This is the Ritual Tarot by Tierra May. A friend sent me this, which is fucking ridiculous. But I'm a little bit worried about what has happened to this deck. Just because the same thing that I did to the Mary L. Tarot, I did again, I think, accidentally with this. I have been doing readings with this deck, and I think my brain can have more than one thing happening in it at the same time, if that makes sense. It's almost like it has like a system running in the back. Well, I can't see with that there. Running in the background. At this point, okay, this says PP on it because it's the Page of Pentacles, and I apologize if that scared anyone. I've been thinking about the current situation, and it's always sort of in the back of my mind. Like, every move I make, like, somebody else is unable to make this move right now. I go to bed, and my children are safe in their beds, and I know in the morning it's going to be fine, and literally the entire night there's some part of my brain that's like, there are people who do not feel that way. And not just in the one place I'm sure that you know that I'm talking about right now, but there are a lot of places around the world, and like, I don't know, man, it's like survivor's guilt almost or something. Anyway, the point is, it does not stop playing. I don't want anyone to be worried for me that, like, I'm having a fucking breakdown. That's just the way that I am. So, what I'm trying to say is, when I have been drawing cards from this deck, there are two specific cards. Now, I want to actually find them, that I keep drawing. And one of them is the Judgment card. So, Judgment, interestingly, is the same card that Marielle has given me multiple times lately, which is one I have that's already sort of reached heights of strangeness I did not intend for it to. Do I still have them? Oh, fuck. Should have pulled these out before, but anyway, here's a really quick look through the Ritual Tarot. This is not the new edition of it. I think that's a pre-order. This is an older one. Okay. I'm gonna leave that guy out, but that's ultimately not... Wait. No, I won't. Just kidding. Oh my god. So I keep getting the Nine of Swords and Judgment. Did I pull them? Where the fuck are the cards? And the issue is that these cards, see, like right now I can't find them, but ultimately when I'm trying to do a reading, I try to do like a reading about my husband's job the other day, and this is the shit that I'm getting. And this, the bottom line is that these are about something else. And if you pay attention here, this background is actually the same background back here. And what does that look like? If you've been watching any of the videos of things that are currently happening in the world right now, what the fuck does that look exactly like? And this, actually using this deck is kind of fucking me up, and I feel like I've also fucked up this deck, but unintentionally. I don't know how to explain it. I don't want you guys to think I'm crazy, but like... This deck isn't working like it did when I first got it. It's answering something different, and maybe because it is tapping into almost a subconscious part of my brain that's sort of remaining active at all times. It's fucking running in the background. So, yeah. I really, truly, get this rest of this, deeply hope that I will, at some point here, be able to cleanse this deck of this. Because I feel like I don't need a bunch of decks that are speaking to that part of my brain, that awareness. So yeah, that was a strange roundabout conversation about this deck. Anyway, yeah. So those were the decks, those were the books, those were the things that I'm going to be working with in November. Yeah, thanks for watching, bye.